Hi, everybody. I am Kevin Ioli from Yahoo Sports. I really appreciate you joining me. And my next guest, I think, is a guy you're going to hear a lot of in a week or so and in the future. He is 3-1 in the UFC with two bonuses. He is 19-8 overall in his MMA career. On May 12th in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, at UFC 224, a little main card action for Boom. Brian Kelleher is going to fight John Lineker. How are you, Brian?
Good, good. How's everything, Kevin?
I am doing awesome. It's good to have you on. After that fight with Renan Barao, I said, well, this is a guy I will be talking to a lot in the future. I know Barao's had a few struggles, but in February, yeah, really an impressive performance by you in defeating him. Um, let's start with this. What was that win like for you, beating a former UFC champion, a guy that, even though he's had a couple struggles recently, he has a lot of notoriety and had a long winning streak?
Yeah, it was huge for me. I knew Renan Barao was such a big name, and obviously, Dillashaw was the guy to take him out, and he was on top for many years. So for me, it was a huge name to take out and to make a statement. For people to start to know who I am. So it was big for me. It was like before you really fight someone at that level, you don't quite know where you're at. Of course, you believe you're the
Right.
best, but that was me finding out like, all right, I'm ready to fight the best guys. So it was a big deal for me.
I thought you did a good job of staying patient because you hit him with some shots. I remember a left hand you hit him with, and I was really surprised that he stayed up. From that.
Yeah.
How do you when that happens when you're hitting him with your best stuff and he's still coming forward, he's still at least fighting and not going down? How do you avoid getting frustrated?
It comes with experience. I knew watching Barao growing up, before I was even in the UFC, he's a guy that is very hard to put away. I mean, we saw the way Dillashaw put it on him for, a high volume of punches, and he just doesn't go down. So it's really hard to finish the guy. So you just got to stay patient and understand that. And I saw it in his eyes. Like I had him hurt. I could take him out right now, but let's not get too crazy, but let's stay in his face and keep the pressure and whatever happens, happens. And that's what I did.
You did a great job. You won 30-27 on two cards, 29-28, 29-28 on the other. I don't know if it was a disappointment, but I know you tweeted a while back. You said, I'm almost 5 fights into my UFC career, and I still haven't met Joe Rogan or Dana
Yeah.
White. Joe Rogan hasn't interviewed you after one fight?
No, because he has that new deal now where he only does the pay-per-views, stateside pretty much.
Yeah.
He doesn't go, I'm going to Brazil now, so I'm not going to see him again. I feel like, and Joe Rogan's like one of my role models. I watch his podcast all the time. And like before I was in the UFC, it was like I want to be in the UFC and I want to meet Joe Rogan. It was like neck and neck. But yeah, it still hasn't happened. Hopefully the time it happens, I get on his podcast or something like that in the future.
Yeah, you get on that podcast, and everybody's going to know who you are because Joe Rogan has a lot of reach with that thing.
Yeah, exactly. His following is only going to help you with that.
I want to ask you something. I saw, and I think you have this pinned on your Twitter profile. You said, "I was down and out, record of 10-7, just another pro fighter. Got a full time job, was dating a girl who doubted it all. I told myself, no more selling myself short, no more losing if I want to make my dream happen to be in the UFC. I won 7 straight, all prospects. Now look, believe." Really an inspirational comment. But talk to me about that. So when you say you were down and out, like where were you in your career?
It was also how old I was. I'm 31 now. So at that point, I was like 29. I was dating a girl who was a few years older than me, and she wanted to settle down, have a family soon. And for me, I just wasn't ready. I wanted to pursue my dreams still. And I never gave up. Like I said, 10-7. At that point, you got to start thinking, is this for me? Am I going to make it? I don't know. Should I get a full time job? So I was going through stages where I was second guessing myself as far as the UFC goes and if I was going to become what I believed I would. And I just hit a switch and I said, I'm going to go full force. From here on out, I'm going to fight the best guys I can, all the guys that are being talked about as the next, big thing, the next big prospect, and see what I could do. If I could take these guys out and I can go on a streak, that's probably my only chance to get in. So it was amazing how it all worked out. And I actually started working full time and it motivated me because I wasn't happy at work. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to work for somebody. I didn't want to just get a paycheck and be a normal guy at a job. So I had to do this. I had to win and keep on winning and get, in Dana White's eyes and the UFC. And that's what I did.
I have covered fights, I think, close to as long as you've been alive, and I've
Yeah.
always loved it. And the one question I like to ask guys, what is it that motivates you to do this? Because as much as I love being at ringside and watching it, sometimes I get made fun of sometimes on camera because people see me cringing. I see guys get hit, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, it's hard to watch you guys get hit that hard sometimes. What makes you want to fight, and how long? I know you were a great athlete growing up, and you did a lot of different sports. What was it that made fighting the sport for you?
It was I always had a really high level of competitiveness. I had a lot of passion in my heart. Every sport that I played, it was like I wanted to be the best. I didn't want to just play it as a hobby, have fun. I wanted to win so bad. And what's crazy about fighting to me is who I am as a person is like the opposite. I'm very disconfrontational. I don't like. I'm not argumentative. I don't want to fight. I've never been in a street fight in my life. So
Oh.
for me, it's actually a surprise. To be this. To be a fighter, but for me, it comes down to being free. I found a love for the sport, a love for competing, a love for the discipline and the dedication that comes with it. And it grounded me as a person. When I was younger, I had a lot more aggression in me. I had a lot more of a temper. And now I'm a lot more grounded and a lot more calm. And I think fighting has done that for me as a person. So it's changed my life for the
Hmm.
better. And I just feel free being able to do what I love. And I think that's probably one of the biggest most amazing things in life that you could do.
It's amazing. We're still 25 years into MMA, and there's people who, don't understand it and want to ban it and thinking that. And to hear somebody talk like you just talked and how it's a life changing thing is really remarkable. And that leads me to my next question, which it seems like to me, your success, as great an athlete as you are, your success as a fighter is more mental than physical, is it not?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it's like I just don't want to live a life where I'm forced to do something that I don't quite love, but it just gets me by. Like
Mhm.
the every day to day paycheck. Fighting's unpredictable and it is scary at times, but I always just look back and I say like I'm doing what I love, and not everyone gets to do that, and so I'm happy about that. And we'll figure out what I could do with this platform for the future, and that's all it is. I'm doing what I love, and I think it's going to set me up for things in the future. As long as I have a successful career in MMA, I can do many other things that involve the sport after.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt. You've been a very active fighter. I just marked down when you started in the UFC, you had 3 fights in 4 months. Some guys fight once in 4 months.
Yeah.
Now I think this fight next week will be your second fight in what, 2.5 months. So,
Yeah.
you're more active. Do you feel like you're sharper when you fight more, or is it just the fact that, hey, I want to, make as much money as I can at this while, as long as I'm near the top of my game?
Yeah, it's both. I feel like there's such a short window in the sport, so I like to keep the ball rolling. And as long as I'm not hurt, I have no injuries. I'm a guy that's in the gym 24/7. Every day. I don't take breaks. I don't even really like vacation anymore. It's like I want to be a world champion. So even if I beat the next guy, there's the next guy. So it never ends. It's hard to shut the switch off. But I'm a big believer in momentum, and when I have that momentum, I'm coming off a big victory. I just want to keep going and roll with it. So it works for me to stay active.
How much do you think it helps you? You're going to go fight Lineker down there. He's number 6 in the bantamweight rankings. Brazil's a notoriously tough place to fight. You were in Rio. You've already won a fight in Rio. The fans there know you. How much do you think it helps maybe make your adjustment? I'm sure there's going to be some butterflies fighting on the pay-per-view broadcast for the first time and fighting a ranked fighter like John Lineker. Does it help having been there and been through an experience of Brazil once before?
100%. It definitely helps because when I first went there, it was like, the unexpected. You don't know what's to come. You don't know how crazy it really is going to be. I know I heard things about it, but till you live in that moment, you really don't know what it's like. So for me, I look back and think it was a beautiful experience to have had, especially now going into it again on a bigger platform on pay-per-view. My last fight was on TV on Fox, so I got a little bit of the cameras in my face feel. So,
Hey.
that was all good experience leading up to this. And I think, I do really well under pressure. I thrive in enemy territory, as we've seen. So I think it's a good thing for me in the end.
Was there anything crazy that happened to you in Brazil, or did somebody say, I know everybody said you're going to die when you walk out to the cage, but so that's maybe old school, but anything that, you can relate that happened to you when you were down there?
No, it was really wild experience. I never heard a crowd that loud, and I respect it. I know those fans got a lot of passion, but they don't like the away guy, that's for sure. So, I got on the mic and I pitched what I wanted for my next fight, and I said some things, nothing crossing the line, but the Brazilians don't like that. You beat their guy and you start saying some stuff on the mic. So they were throwing some beer bottles at me, and they were yelling at me on the way out. It was a pretty surreal experience. It was a
That's
lot
cool.
of fun though. I look back and it's just fun for me.
I want to ask you about Lineker. Lineker obviously is a hard hitter, a guy that can crack. If I would have one critique or one criticism of what I saw from you in the Barao fight, it was a little bit wide, right? Your punches were a little bit wide. Against a guy like Lineker who can come back with those punches, is that a risk? And have you worked on maybe trying to tighten that up?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. In the Barao fight, I felt like, I'm very good at improvisation. If I see a guy's hurt, I might get a little more wild with stuff, knowing that he's hurt, he's not as powerful. I felt his punches. I know what to expect. You always got to be alert. But yeah, against Lineker, I think that awareness and alertness has to be at its peak. He has power punches. He throws power into almost every shot that he throws. The good thing is I feel Barao is a more dimensional, well-rounded
Right.
fighter than Lineker. He's more of a threat with the jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, and the wrestling defense. I've seen a lot of weaknesses in Lineker's defense as far as wrestling goes, as far as someone being on top on the ground. So I worked a lot of mixing it up in this camp, a lot of angles, a lot of movement, and a lot of changing levels from strikes to takedowns. So I'm very well prepared for that.
I should know better than to ask this next question because I've done this long enough. You're focused on John Lineker, but it's not too often that the UFC pits a guy who is unranked against somebody who's ranked in the top 10, especially top six, where he is ranked. So that would seem to me that if you win this fight, they have plans for you that they think, hey, this is a guy. Where do you want to go if you beat Lineker? What would be next?
Yeah, for me, I always have a vision. I know you can't look past the opponent, so I never look past them, but I always have some kind of plan for after. God willing, I get the victory. You got to know what you want, and you got to ask for it these days. That's how you get it. That's how
Right.
I got the Lineker fight. So for me, I would love to fight the winner of Marias Rivera. That's one I got my eyes on because my plan is to fight in August next below Dillashaw Garbrandt, and then get back in November when they come back to MSG. That would be the perfect plan if it all worked out. So I got my eyes on that fight, and other than that, I think I just got to make a statement in this fight. The only guy to really dominate Lineker was Dillashaw. He's the current champ. So if I could dominate him the same way, or perhaps get a finish, that makes a huge statement. I think the UFC will take note on that.
That'd be awesome. So let's end with this. You meet Dana White for the first time. I'm assuming you're going to meet him at this pay per view, right? What do you say? Like, what's the conversation between you and Dana White? I know he's seen you fight and he knows what you can do. When you see him, what's the conversation?
Yeah, I can't wait. I actually met Dana on looking for a fight before I was in the UFC. I had the spinning back fist knockout. That was what I thought was going to get me in the UFC, but it
Right.
took a lot longer. So I'll probably mention that and see if he remembers that and how much passion I had. And he had good things to say about me. And actually, after that happened, I went to Vegas to watch Conor McGregor versus Diaz, the first fight. And I came down to the front row and I was with my brother and I saw Sean Shelby walk by and then Dana and I showed Dana the clip. I'm like, you remember this when I knocked this guy out? I'm like, I'm on a 6 fight win streak. I'm like, please, I'm ready to fight for the UFC. Give me my chance. And he kind of like, I'm sure he gets a lot of that. So
He
he was
loves
like,
that.
he loves it though. He loves the passion. So I made my case. I wanted my name out there. I told both him and Sean Shelby. And I'll probably mention that to him and see if he remembers that. And that would be cool, if he does remember that.
Is it, you know, in the UFC, it's like I don't want to say a one man operation. Obviously not. They have a huge staff, but Dana is the one. If Dana likes you, you're going up, right? You get opportunity. So does that put pressure on you because hey, I got to think what he likes, and so Dana sometimes doesn't like the grappling. I shouldn't say he doesn't like grappling heavy fights, but the slower fights, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If you're wrestling and holding the guy down, he likes action and people moving for finishes or people. You have been that kind of guy, but do you think about that when you fight because you know the type of fight that will help you advance if you fight that way?
It's come across my mind. I definitely think that's what they like. I know that's what they like, but I just be myself. This is who I am as a fighter. What you see is what you get with me. I mean, I love to be the pressure guy. I like to get finishes. I got good killer instinct, and I come in there strong. I don't really like to fight slow. I like to fight at a fast pace. I really believe in my cardio. I think I can break guys and drown guys. So, I just got to be myself, and I know that they like that, and they'll move me up. Sometimes you could skip guys. If the Rivera and Mariah's fight is lackluster and my fight's really high pressure, really exciting, I get a finish. You never know. They can skip me ahead of those guys. So that's on my mind.
No doubt. Well, I wish you the best of luck. May 12th, you'll see this young man on pay-per-view, UFC 24 from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He's going to be fighting John Lineker, Brian Boom Kelleher. We wish you the best, Brian. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. Boom.